The field now makes their way. Randall, position 6, Bert Vosbergen, Nick Girdleston from 7, position number 8, Gavin McEachin, car number 73, Ron Pine, the driver from 9, Robert Gray from position number 10, position 11, Ian Marshall, position 12, Peter Logue, position 13, Craig Vosbergen, Peter Garrett will drive car number 85 from position 14, Harold Brennan from position 15, Graham Forte from 16. As the pace starts to quicken as they come off turn number 1, turn 4, we have a start. In the 1991 Australian Super Sedan Championship, best to begin on the outside was John Pine, but there's trouble further back in the field as the race continues on through the first turn, and it's John Pine, the defending Australian champion, leading on the back straightaway. There's Ben Ludlow also moving quickly through. Tony Ginstead there, and there's problems down in the bottom section of the course. Neville Harper involved there, one of the drivers involved. Here's Tony Ginstead. The yellow lights are on, and we've come to a halt. Wayne Randall spinning out also there. Couple going via the infield, and all the action coming thick and fast in the opening lap of the Australian Super Sedan Championship. Sean Middleton involved there. Gavin McEachin. Also, as I said, Neville Harper, one of the drivers involved. A dramatic incident here on the exit of turn number 1 into turn 2 in actual fact, and the action coming to a halt. Nick Girdleston, car number 10, also involved. Set to run once again. Pace quickens off turn 4. We have a start. The green flag is waved, and once again we're underway in the Australian Super Sedan Championship, and once again it's John Pine leading out. Benny Ludlow right up high on the wall there, and he's lost a number of places in the opening exchange. Down the back section of the course they run, and it's Nick Girdleston also quickly into stride. There too is Vosbergen down into the bottom corner once again, and Vosbergen's around sideways, and this is continuing the action, coming thick and fast down the section they run. The main straightaway here at Bendigo. There's Ian Marshall going through the pit turn once again, and here's where the action is at the top of the field, and here comes Tony Ginstead looking for a way on the inside. No way that way, and John Pine still leads off turn 4. One on the infield there, race continuing. It's all happening here in these opening laps, but it's still John Pine, but the yellow lights are on. The yellow lights are on, and once again the race has been brought to a premature halt here as John Leslight, group number 81, also Ben Ludlow there too, and certainly officials, everyone very edgy, very toey as we're trying to get this race underway, and certainly one across the track there. John Pine set to bring the field around once again for another restart. Here they go once again, a little bit of banging and shoving there, but everyone gets away okay this time. Down into the pit turn they run on the first occasion. And more problems here as Graham Fort stranded across the finish line there, or the run into turn 1 I should say, as everyone just a little bit toey, a little bit edgy. Oh, Ron Pine around sideways, and he's clouded in turn by Ian Marshall. Well, there's Ron Pine on the infield. He's out of the race. Ron Pine out of the race with a flat tyre. Set to run once again in yet another restart to the 35-lap Australian Championship final, and Tony Ginstead and John Pine going hard at it down into turn 1 once again, and John Pine gets the best of the early exchange and leads down the back straightaway on the first of 35 gruelling laps around the half-mile Bendigo International Raceway. There's Wayne Randall also prominently positioned, but here's John Pine leading down the main straight. Tony Ginstead there riding his hammer, and here comes Ben Ludlow setting himself for a big run around the outside. Loses a little bit of ground but continues to fight on and picks up that distance now on Tony Ginstead. Now coming through on the inside, Benny Ludlow down into turn 3, taking the race right up to Tony Ginstead. Meanwhile, John Pine leading the high-speed rest parade off turn number 4 down the main straight. John Pine, Tony Ginstead, Benny Ludlow, the top 3 runners into turn 1 once again. Here's Ben Ludlow trying this outside line, persisting with this outside line once again, and going down to turn 3, switching to the outside once again, and moving up on the outside. Around the outside goes Ben Ludlow, and Ben Ludlow now in second position. Oh, brave man Ben Ludlow taking the race right up now to John Pine. A terrific performance by Ben Ludlow from Western Australia. John Pine still leading. Here comes Tony Ginstead back on the inside. John Leslight also right up there. Oh, a cracker pace in the opening laps. Benny Ludlow right around now and moving up on the outside of John Pine. John Pine, really plenty of work, plenty of pressure. Here's Benny Ludlow and going for the lead down in turn 1, West Aussie. Ben Ludlow, a superb performance right up on the high line, loses ground, back into third. Here's John Leslight now on the inside of Ben Ludlow. What a great drive by Ben Ludlow, but it's still John Pine leading. Still really hasn't got Ben Ludlow anywhere back there in third position, but certainly full marks to Ben Ludlow. A great performance in these opening laps of the Australian Super Sedan Championship. Field settles down now once again through the pit turn. John Pine still leading, and Tony Ginstead right there. Ben Ludlow still not out of it by any means. Here comes Tony Ginstead, has a little look there but couldn't do anything about it, has another go on the inside, but John Pine has certainly got that locked up, no way through there, and John Pine down into turn 1 once again, and Ben Ludlow there, John Leslight, they in turn were tailed out by Wayne Randall. The top 5 in the early laps of the Australian Super Sedan Championship, as once again Ben Ludlow through on the inside but couldn't pull off the pass. The top 5, John Pine, Tony Ginstead, they in turn were tailed out by Ben Ludlow. Next one through there as they come down the main straightaway once again is John Leslight, and Ben Ludlow around the outside, Wayne Randall the next man through, and here comes John Leslight, comes through on the inside, couldn't pull off a pass. Still Ben Ludlow in third spot, and Ben Ludlow, boy oh boy, what a performance. A one-man show is Ben Ludlow, and he's still holding down third position on the racetrack once again. Oh, clips the wall. Oh, Benny Ludlow out of it, right out of it, dropping 5 placings. Right out of it, Ben Ludlow. Nick Girdleston, now Ian Marshall going through on the inside, but couldn't get through on the inside of Ben Ludlow. He regains that position on Ian Marshall, but Ben Ludlow really, I think, right out of it now, but certainly some great opening laps there and great opening exchanges by Ben Ludlow as he took the race right up to John Pine and Tony Ginstead, but it's still John Pine leading, Wayne Randall, there's Ian Marshall, and Ben Ludlow still persisting on the outside and gets back on that outside position of Ian Marshall. There's John Pine, Tony Ginstead, and boy, you can cover these top 3 with a blanket. Next one through, John Leslight. Oh, some superb action here in the final of the Australian Super Sedan Championship. This is what we've all waited to see, and it's terrific action here as the Super Sedans go hard at it for the National Championship honours. John Pine still doing a beautiful job, the defending Australian champion, his title right on the line here, as still Tony Ginstead right there, nothing in it, coming off turn 4 down the main straight, and still John Leslight. Next one through is Wayne Randall. They in turn coming down into the bottom turn, Ben Ludlow also there too now. Nick Girdleston up on the inside of Ben Ludlow. A great effort this by Nick Girdleston coming from deep in the field. Also Ian Marshall up on the inside of Ben Ludlow. There's certainly plenty of battles right around the top 10, 12 runners in this Australian Championship final. Nothing in it at this stage between those top runners. Wayne Randall there driving car number 36, pacing himself beautifully. Here's Ian Marshall again on the inside of Ben Ludlow. Just ahead of him on the racetrack is Nick Girdleston. Here comes Ian Marshall once again. There's John Pine still leading the high-speed running of the Australian Championship. One up on the boards yet again is Ben Ludlow, and now this allows Ian Marshall to sneak through on the inside, but here comes Tony Ginstead, and it's still John Pine. John Pine, if anything, really the pressure applied. Coming off turn 2, they run down the back straight away, lining up into turn number 3. Still John Pine, the race leader. Oh, one up against the wall there. We'll try and pick up that car as the yellow lights are on. The yellow lights on in a sensational Australian Super Sedan Championship final. Absolutely brilliant racing from the Super Sedans. John Pine, Tony Ginstead, the top 2 runners. Absolutely superb action. Just trying to pick up this stranded car in looks like turn number 3. Set to go racing once again. John Pine still to lead them away, and nothing's remained. Everything's still the same. Nothing changed in the top runners. Wayne Randall there, Nick Girdleston. Here's this battle still continuing between Ian Marshall and Ben Ludlow as they come off turn number 2 on the back section of the circuit. They run once again. Here comes Tony Ginstead, and I guess Tony Ginstead really wondering what he's got to do to try and get through on the inside or the outside there of John Brown, but still plenty of laps remaining. The final over a distance of 35 laps, and that's a long way around this half-mile Bendigo Raceway, so the laps still on the side of Tony Ginstead, but here comes John Leslight now, just to make matters even more interesting. John Leslight driving car number 81 in third position at this stage as they complete yet another lap, but certainly John Pine doing a beautiful job out in front, absolutely handling the pressure superbly. An experienced Super Sedan driver is John Pine, and he's letting that experience show here tonight in this crackerjack final. Wayne Randall now up into fourth position, and also there too Nick Girdleston. Oh, and John Pine out of the race, out of the Australian Championship final. The Australian champion on the infield and out of the race. So the new race leader is former national champion Tony Ginstead. Tony Ginstead, oh, and there's problems further back in the field. Robert Gray, Lionel West, Sean Middleton also involved there, and the yellow lights are on. Well, it's all happening in the final, a dramatic final. John Pine on the infield, cars stranded all over the racetrack on the pit turn. Lionel West involved, and also, as I said, Sean Middleton, Robert Gray. There's John Pine, a dejected John Pine removes the helmet, other cars on the infield. Bad luck for John Pine, sitting behind the wheel of that race car, now preparing to get out of the number one race car. His title is shot. Set to go racing once again, the race leader Tony Ginstead from Victoria, and down the main straight into turn one. Tony Ginstead picks up the challenge, and through the pit turn, Wayne Randall now in second position, and it's John Leslight back there in third spot. They in turn were tailed out by Nick Girdleston, but down into turn three, and now it's Wayne Randall starting to emerge from the pack and issuing a challenge on the inside there to Tony Ginstead. But Tony Ginstead holds that line. They race into turn number one. Tony Ginstead, the race leader. Wayne Randall there in second position. They in turn were tailed out by John Leslight. Next man through is Nick Girdleston, and here comes Nick Girdleston driving the number 10 race car, but still Tony Ginstead leading. There's Wayne Randall. They in turn John Leslight, and just one wheel offline means you can drop back a couple of placings. So close are these top 4-5 runners. There's absolutely nothing in it. Off turn two they run once again, and Tony Ginstead really working hard at the wheel of that number 18 race car, because here comes Wayne Randall. Wayne Randall, really the spoiler in this Australian Super Sedan Championship, now taking the race right up to Tony Ginstead, and also too now Nick Girdleston having a look on the inside there of John Leslight as they come off turn two once again. So boy oh boy, certainly all the challenges coming from deep in the pack, and a good drive too by Wayne Randall, who's now moving through, and a tremendous performance by Wayne Randall up into second position and right in contention for this 1991 Australian Super Sedan Championship as John Leslight comes through. Benny Ludlow now coming through on the inside there of Nick Girdleston, and Ben Ludlow has courageously fought his way back into fifth position on the racetrack. A great effort there by the West Australian Ben Ludlow, and some superb performances by all these drivers, the top runners. Absolutely a brilliant performance here. Down into the pit turn they run yet again, still Tony Ginstead. Now the lap's starting to run out, but still plenty of laps remaining, but still Tony Ginstead leading. Robert Gray further back there in the field. Here's Wayne Randall on screen at the present time. Tony Ginstead coming off turn number 4. Another lap down, another lap closer to the checkered flag and victory in the Australian Super Sedan Championship. But he's still got plenty of work to do yet. It's not over yet by any means, as Wayne Randall, Nick Girdleston, Ben Ludlow, John Brown there, he's fought his way up from the tail end of the field. They run hard into turn 3. Tony Ginstead, an immaculate drive at the top of the field. Coming off turn 4 into the main straight, they run one more time. Wayne Randall locked away there in second position, and here comes Leslight once again, but Randall yet again has it covered. Benny Ludlow, the track now starting to go sleek as the laps unfold in the National Championship of Australia. Oh, and one up in the wall there is Lionel West, and a spectacular exit by Lionel West from his challenge for the Australian Super Sedan Championship. Car number 60, roof number 2, Lionel West bringing on the yellow lights yet again. So lead them away once again. The pace quickens off turn 4, and away they go. Down into turn 1. Tony Ginstead still leading, but here comes Wayne Randall and of course John Leslight there. They in turn were followed out by Nick Girdleston. Next man through is Ben Ludlow, but here's Tony Ginstead drifting up high onto the racetrack, down into turn 3. Still has the front running well covered at this stage, however. Lines up off turn 4, coming down the main straightaway. Wayne Randall right there too. John Leslight, Nick Girdleston. Next man through, Ben Ludlow, having driven an absolutely brilliant race. A dynamic performance from Ben Ludlow. On further, John Brown spins, keeps going. Racing action continuing. Robert Gray going through there as the rest of the field, but John Brown gets the car running once again. The light's still on green, and back to our dice, the top running. Tony Ginstead still leading. Wayne Randall next. They were followed through by John Leslight and Nick Girdlestone, the next man through in 4th position. But now the lap's starting to run out, and here comes Tony Ginstead down into, but it's Bert Vosbergen bringing on the yellow lights down into, or Craig Vosbergen, I think you'll find it was. Craig Vosbergen. Yes, the yellow lights are on. Craig Vosbergen, the driver, bringing on the yellow lights from Western Australia, the Pilkington Glass entry, and the driver, Craig Vosbergen. Set to go once again. Here's Tony Ginstead, a former winner of the Australian Super Sedan Championship, but boy oh boy, he will certainly, if he can go on and take out this Australian title, he will certainly have earned his win, as the challengers still coming thick and fast. But it's Tony Ginstead, in actual fact, just with a slight buffer over Wayne Randall now down into the 3rd turn, and still Wayne Randall in 2nd position. Here's Leslight. Leslight moves up, and now Nick Girdleston through on the inside and up into 3rd position. Nick Girdleston and John Leslight just slightly offline, but that was all Nick Girdleston needed to move into 3rd position. A great drive turned in by Nick Girdleston as he runs right up onto the tail now of Wayne Randall. Here comes Leslight through onto the inside. Oh, Nick Girdleston around sideways, coming off turn 4 down the main straight. Still Tony Ginstead leading, but here's the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Tony Ginstead clear. Ben Ludlow now going through on the inside there, but couldn't pull it off. Tony Ginstead still leads the Australian Super Sedan Championship, the final stages of the Australian Championship. Here's Leslight and Ben Ludlow coming again on the inside. There goes Tony Ginstead into turn 1. Wayne Randall still holding down a superb performance. A good drive by Wayne Randall in 2nd position, and Nick Girdleston in 3rd. So just repeating the top 3 placings once again. Still Tony Ginstead leading from Wayne Randall, and Nick Girdleston coming off the final turn, or turn 4. Down the straight they come once again, as still Tony Ginstead leading into the latter stages of the Australian Super Sedan Championship, and Tony Ginstead absolutely having driven a flawless race. Tony Ginstead into the bottom turn. There's Nick Girdleston. Here comes John Leslight once again. But boy oh boy, what a superb race this is. A credit to the Australian Super Sedan people and the Australian Saloon Car Federation. A superb performance this race. One of the best Australian sedan titles in many years, as we watch Tony Ginstead off turn 2 once again, and Nick Girdleston right up on the tail now of Wayne Randall. Into the bottom turn they run once again, and here comes Nick Girdleston driving car number 10, and just looking for a way through on the inside there of Wayne Randall, but couldn't pull it off. As they come through the pit turn, Ben Ludlow coming through on the inside now of John Leslight, and they run side by side, but Leslight fights back on the outside and still holds down that 4th position on the racetrack. Coming off the 4th turn, still Tony Ginstead, and the white flag is out. 1 lap remaining for Tony Ginstead. 1 lap away from the Australian Super Sedan Championship. We follow Tony Ginstead around on his final lap. Here's Nick Girdleston and Wayne Randall battling for 2nd and 3rd, but here's the race leader, Tony Ginstead. 1 more corner to negotiate. Comes off turn number 4 and will take out the 1991 Australian Super Sedan Championship. Oh, Wayne Randall spins off, but he got 2nd, and Nick Girdleston 3rd. There goes Tony Ginstead through and on the back straightaway. A sensational Australian Super Sedan Championship as we watch the stranded Wayne Randall runner-up the firecrackers going off, some superb racing, great atmosphere here at the Bendigo International Raceway, and Tony Ginstead taking out the 1991 Australian Super Sedan Championship, a former winner of this title, but what a magnificent performance. Tony Ginstead driving car number 18, absolutely elated. Tony Ginstead now receiving the checkered flag, and Tony Ginstead setting off on his victory lap here at the Bendigo International Raceway. He had to do it hard, he did it tough, and it was a great effort by Tony Ginstead in those opening laps. It looked like John Pine, the man that they all had to beat, but Tony Ginstead nevertheless was still right in contention right from the opening lap of the National Championship.